everyone to the Women in Control live virtual panel. My name is Nadia and I'm the founder of Women in Control. Women in Control is a platform that I started around 3 years ago, and I started it because I wanted to empower women that work in the creative, music and business industry to really allow us to shout out more about our achievements, encourage us more to share our experiences and create awareness. Really interested in championing and pushing for gender diversity, especially across a lot of male-dominated roles within the industry, and also within higher level executive top tier roles, like breaking that glass ceiling as well. The session today is all about social media strategy, and I'm really excited to have a really special guest with me here today, Unsah Malik. And I actually came across Unsah, I think it was last year, because you were working at a big beauty brand doing their social and influencer PR, and I got invited to one of your events, and I believe it was like one of the biggest influencer events in the whole beauty industry. And then after that, we followed each other, and then I saw that you launched your platform, Slashed.It. And Unsah still works full-time in PR, but she's been working on an ebook. And her Instagram platform, Slashed.It, has lots of tools, lots of tips that as she's going through writing her book that she's been sharing with you guys. And I thought it'd be really good to get her here today and talk to us directly and share some of these amazing gems with us through all your experience. So thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate you giving the time up to do this, and really excited to get into the conversation with you. So yeah, I'd love to hand over to you. If you could introduce yourself to everyone, let us know a bit about what you do and what you've done in the past.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you for joining today, and thank you, Nadia. So just a tiny bit about my background. I'll give you top line information, just so I'm not talking about myself the whole time. I started in journalism. I'm a journalism graduate, and then I worked at The Guardian. I headed social media for the travel section. And then I went over to Entertainment, and I headed the social campaigns for all the top reality TV shows. So you're obviously Keeping Up with Kardashians, Rich Kids, Total Divas, all the award ceremonies, Met Gala, Golden Globes, BAFTAs. Then went over to Elle magazine, where I headed the social media for them. Grew it enough for it to be the most followed fashion magazine in the UK, which is huge. And then after that, I decided I'd had enough of publishing. I kind of knew that world inside out, and it was time for a bigger challenge to learn how social media works on the other side of the world, which is the brand side. And that's when I went to the beauty brand Rodial, and I headed social media for Rodial Beauty and Nip and Fab, and headed the influencer strategy for Nip and Fab. And that takes me up to today, where I work for a production company. I work on the digital partnerships and influencer strategy for 3 of the shows. I'll keep it anonymous for now, but if you want to know, just go to my LinkedIn and you'll see all that information over there.
Amazing. And yeah, your social media platform, Slashed.It. So you started this because you are working full-time in this industry, and that's your full-time job, but you're writing an ebook. So can you tell us a bit about that, and also your Slashed.It page and what it's about, and what made you want to write the ebook?
Yeah, so Slashed.It actually started on my personal account. So I have a lot of influencers who follow me there, just because I met them a lot through work. And I posted one post on 10 ways to increase your engagement, and it kind of went viral in the influencer community. And that's when I realized a lot of the information taught on the outside externally, whether it's from influencers or other people who are in the industry, the knowledge isn't as extensive as someone who's worked in the industry for a longer period of time. That's not to say other people aren't growing their accounts well, it's just that they don't have that extra bit of value and knowledge, which I gained from working across a number of industries. So after that, I thought, you know what, I don't want my personal feed to be bombarded with this kind of content, let me make a separate feed. And it just kind of grew, it's like a snowball effect from there. And then I thought, you know what, I have so much information, and yes, I'm giving a lot for free, but I think if I write an ebook, people find it a lot more beneficial. Because the other downside to having all these ebooks available, all these courses available, they cost thousands and thousands of pounds, and they teach the most basic information like how to hashtag, how to use a filter, how to upload an Instagram video. And you know what, if that's basic knowledge, and I think for the people that follow me, it's very obvious knowledge. And even if it's not, you go and Google, you find that in 30 seconds. So this book is going to bridge the gap between what a lot of people teach and what's not taught from what you learn inside the industry. And really, it's going to be a book which everyone can apply for every social platform. My end verdict is all social media is the same. It's just applying the same knowledge. So your variables might change, like what time of the day you post and the type of content you post, whether it's a long video, whether it's like a TikTok dance. But what's required to make a successful strategy and successful content doesn't actually change that much.
Incredible. And so when did you actually start the platforms? I know when you followed me off that platform and I found out about it, it's just grown considerably in the last few months, right?
Mm-hmm. It has. So I started it, I would say, around a year ago, but I didn't take it very seriously at the beginning. I just wanted a separate platform from my personal platform. And plus I was getting so many emails from people who wanted to go, and I thought, you know what, if I can just direct them to this one page, then that kind of kills two birds in one stone. But when the followers started to grow a tiny bit more, I took it a bit more seriously. And now, yeah, we've just hit 10K followers, which is amazing. It's nice to see people are enjoying the content, because if they weren't, then I just wouldn't have bothered. Like I said, I work in a 9-to-5, so it's not like this is my sole income. But I think that has helped on the other side of things as well. People know I'm not just doing this to make an extra buck in my account. I'm generally trying to help people and bridge a gap.
Definitely. And I think also because you do this as your day job, I think you're given a lot of really inside knowledge and tools. And like you said, like a higher level knowledge that people really want to start to apply to their own accounts and be more savvy with their Instagram and their social media accounts as they want to grow their own pages and become influencers. And as you mentioned, you have a full-time job and you're doing this as well in your free time and on evenings and weekends. So I've been asking every guest that I've had on the show, because of the situation with coronavirus, like how has this impacted your work? I'm assuming, you know, you used to go into the office, are you working from home, and how have you had to adapt to that? So you can talk us through a little bit about that.
Well, because I work in production, things have changed dramatically, because obviously we cannot film the TV shows we always film. And it's actually, interestingly enough, moves everything to digital, which is the area I work in anyway. What I am seeing is a lot of brands within the digital space increasing their amount of content which they're uploading. So suddenly posting like 15 times a day and going crazy in every single platform. And what I feel like now more than ever is quality is important over quantity. So pre-coronavirus, I would say both are equally important. You need to have quality content, but you need to make sure you are posting a heavy amount of content as well. Right now, I think quality is what's going to attract the people you want to attract, because there's just so much information found online, and there always has been, but this has just intensified things to the power of 100.
I wanted to get started into talking about the social media strategy now, but before I got into that, I wanted to touch on the fact that it is Mental Health Awareness Week this week, and I think it's really important that we do talk about this, because social media has been known and has actually a direct relation to mental health, and there's a direct relation to increased depression with negative social media experiences, and it can really have a big impact on mental health, and especially within the current situation, I feel, within lockdown. So I wanted to share some tips I had before I had handed over to Unsah as well to touch on this. So my number one tip is all about basically trying to control your social media feeds and make it a more positive experience for you, and some tips and tools that you can use to do that. So my tip one would be to unfollow or mute accounts that don't bring you happiness, or if they cause you anxiety or bring up bad memories or any bad associations, unfollow those accounts. You know, don't feel guilty to do that. If you do work with people and you have to keep an ongoing relationship, then mute those accounts. I think that tool has been so essential to me, because like I said, it's all about controlling your feed and going on there and changing your experience on those platforms. My second tip would then be, also following on from that, to curating your own feed by following more positive platforms. So, you know, if you're having body image issues, maybe follow some more positive body pages or inspiring quotes or meme pages. There's so much out there. So you can really curate the feed that you're looking at and control what you're consuming at that point. Another one that's been the third tip, which has been really, really important for me, has been monitoring my screen times and setting limits for my social media apps. And I have an iPhone, so I'm not sure if you can do this across Android, but on my iPhone, I set specific limits per day. I feel like especially in lockdown, we're all using social media a lot more, and I found I've been using it a lot more, and I have to use it for my businesses, and I run 2 social media accounts as well. I'm finding that my screen time's going up, which causes me a lot of stress because I don't want to be reading that I'm, you know, on social media for 4 hours a day. Like, it's extremely stressful, but it's difficult when you're having to work on there. So I just feel like I really make conscious effort to make sure my time on those social platforms is really effective, and I'm only going on there to post things, engage with people, and then I leave off the platforms as well. So setting those time limits has really helped me as well. And my tip number 4 would be, if you are experiencing issues, or you know, you're feeling down and you're finding that you're going on social media and scrolling and it's just having a negative impact on you, I would encourage you to reach out and speak to somebody. I have put a little guide for lockdown on my website, which I've written, which is a free guide that you can download, and it talks about just how we can use technology in these times, and especially during lockdown, to keep in touch with a lot more people. Like, I've been using video calls a whole lot more, and you keep in touch with family. I feel like because we're not able to see people in person, it really helps having that facial connection. I've even been doing things like having movie nights with my sisters, and we're all on like a group call and we're all watching it together, and it just makes you feel more connected with people. But if you can talk to somebody, do that. If you don't feel comfortable, then it does help to also write down your feelings. And my 5th tip for social media would be it's okay to take a break. Like, you know, I don't go on certain accounts. I'll just leave it if I'm, you know, not enjoying it. So you take a step back. It's okay to delete accounts. It's okay to take a social media cleanse. And sometimes taking a break and then coming back to it, and then using some of those tools and tips can really help you, like I said, to curate your content, take control of your social media experience, and make it something that you enjoy. So yeah, I hope that helped. But I also know that you know, especially with, you know, influencers and artists that I work with, there's a lot of focus on like follower numbers and likes and stuff. And have you found that as well, Unsah? Did you want to touch on it?
Yeah, I mean, a huge. I think you nailed it when you said that it's okay to take a break. And I think a lot of the time when our work is social media, whether it's someone like you and I who focus on social media from a bit more of an external perspective, or whether it's an influencer, and because a lot of your work, the bulk of what you produce is for social media, you assume that you cannot take a break. It's far from that. Please take a break, because it will eat you up. You know, I've met so many influencers in my career, so many kind of reality TV stars and so on, and when you don't take the break, your brain just needs time to rest. Otherwise, it just doesn't catch up on you in life. I found it myself. So I work within the beauty industry, and I have done for such a long time, but I get caught up and I start looking at people's perfection when I know what it's like behind the scenes. I know everything's not perfect. I know a lot of people's lives, and I start looking at them and I think, oh well, you know, maybe I need to lose a bit of weight, and oh well, maybe I need some lip fillers now, and oh well, maybe I need to get my jaw done. And this is me who knows everything inside out. So I can only imagine what it's like for someone who doesn't know as much information, who just gets caught up at looking at people's face, looking at people's likes and followers, and thinking if they look a certain kind of way, then maybe if I look like that, people will accept me a tiny bit more. And it's hard, you know. And you look at all these people and you think, well, they're perfect, so why are they going to struggle with such issues? People's idea of perfection is in their mind, it's not in reality. When I was going through a phase where I used to kind of work out heavily, I kind of lost a bit too much weight, and I would look in the mirror and I would think I'm too fat. And that's just from the images I saw on social media, and everyone around me was telling me, oh, let's calm down, like you're going overboard at this point. And it took a real shock to my system for me to realize that my perception of perfection came from social media. If social media didn't exist, I wouldn't have a single idea on what being the importance of being skinny is, you know, the importance of having big lips all of a sudden is like a big bum, and having boobs and so on. So yeah, just stop focusing on the likes and followers, and if you do get them, don't think people are just following you just for your body, the second, or your face, or anything kind of external materialistic, because the second you start linking your likability factor with how you look and your material, it's super damaging for your mindset, and not enough people know that.
Definitely. And you working in like social media in the daytime, and then, you know, like we said, doing this in the evening in your free time, and having to create a lot of content and having to be on platform a lot, how do you control that and make sure that you don't get sucked into that now?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Like, how do you balance it so that you, because obviously you work day through the day doing social media strategies and working with influencers, so you're on platform a lot. So how do you avoid getting yourself sucked into that?
Firstly, I've had to consistently remind myself that social media for me is business. And even if you're an influencer, social media is business. You know, if you're working with brands, if you're growing a following to make money, it's business. So treat it like anyone else would in a 9 to 5. Working in 9 to 5 hours, take a break. You know, use a scheduling tool to kind of schedule content which you're going to post up later in the day. I do think a part of being on social media is being reactive, but if you're scheduling half of your content, that leaves up 50% of your time to be reactive. And, you know, work out what's best for you, because because I've worked in the industry for so long, I've kind of built a bit of tolerance and a bit of a thick skin, so I can be on social media a tiny bit longer. I've been through the shocks, I've met so many people, but at the beginning that wasn't me. Just like anything else in life, you know, you don't go hardcore in, because that's when you kind of get hit with a slap in your face. Take it step by step.
Such good advice. Thank you so much. So yeah, I want to get into debunking some common social media myths, and I know both of us wanted to talk a little bit about this, so I'll get started and then I'll hand over to you as well. So the first myth I wanted to talk about is I am successful if I have a large number of followers, and I feel like this is probably one of the most common misconceptions, like you just touched on as well, that everyone focuses on the numbers. But in fact, and I'm sure, and so you might want to touch on this as well, that, you know, especially brands working with a lot of influencers are actually looking to work with a lot of micro influencers now, because if you're looking at micro influencers, they might have smaller followers, but they're going to have more engagement. And generally, as you go up to the larger number of followers, especially like those bigger celebrities who you feel like, you know, they must have super high engagement, their engagement rates go down. So, you know, don't underestimate the value of having a small amount of followers, but they are real engaged followers, and that's the most important thing to build on. You can still have a small social media community and still be extremely successful with your strategy if you're connecting and engaging with, you know, whatever it is, your fan base, your ideal clients, and turning them into loyal followers or brand advocates for you. The second myth that I want to debunk is I need to be on every social media platform. And I feel like I fell into the trap of this early on, and I felt really overwhelmed with social media, and I actually didn't create any platforms for myself because for those that don't know, I'm a music manager. By day I work in the music industry, and as part of my job as well, I have to do a lot of social media strategy. I have to be on artist platforms a lot, and because of that, I just felt really overwhelmed, and I didn't want to actually create my own platforms because I felt there was just too much pressure. But I've learned to just use 2 or 3, and I've learned to just use the ones that I like. So I think it's really important to just choose platforms that you're engaged with, that work well for you, and that you like using, especially, you know, as we're talking about with the correlation with mental health, like it has to be an experience that you enjoy. I don't use Facebook, for example. I've just never liked the platform. I'm not pushing myself to try and use it. I use Instagram, and a little bit of Twitter, and LinkedIn is a big platform that I'm now moving towards because I really like that. I work a lot more in the business world, so it's a professional platform with a lot of business to business activity. So I find that that works really well for me. But yeah, my advice would be just to stick to the platforms that work for you. And so I'm sure you're going to touch on this later on, but if you're a brand or if you're an influencer as well, there's so much data and insights that you can look at to help you understand what platforms are working well for you, where your content is being engaged the most, and those are the ones that you should focus on as well. So it's about analyzing and understanding what works best for you, but don't feel pressurized that you have to do everything. And the third myth that I want to debunk is that social media is free. So while it's true that you don't have to pay to sign up to a lot of social media platforms, these days, a lot of the organic reach, for example, I know on Facebook, it's less than 3%. So a lot of platforms are pushing a lot more content to advertising spend, but I don't do any advertising spend across my platforms at the minute. But what I do take into account with social media is the time cost, especially when we're talking about managing platforms and having to produce content every day or every week. It takes a lot of my time out. I'm self-employed. If I'm thinking about posting every day, and I'm talking about my screen time as well, if I'm thinking about being on platforms 2 to 3 hours a day, I'm not getting paid for that time. So I have to manage my time effectively and make sure that I'm using it. And you touched on it before, Unsah. Scheduling tools have been a really big help for me in this way, because like I said, I don't think it's very productive for me to constantly spend my time creating content and being on social media. So I do a lot of posts, and I've analyzed, like I said, I've done posts and figured out what works well for my page, and I've scheduled those maybe 4 weeks or 2 weeks in advance, and then I can jump on and then post more reactive things. So I definitely think it's beneficial to do that, and it can really help you manage your time more effectively on social media. And my fourth myth that I want to debunk is that you should hand your social media over to an unpaid intern. While it can be really tempting, I feel like, you know, even for myself, I control all my social media content across my page, and Unsah yourself, you know, even working full time, I'm sure, you know, you're putting the time in to do that directly. But why we're doing that is because it's our platforms, it's our brand, and we have to make sure that the content that we're producing fits with our brand. You know, we have to make sure that everything's on brand with us, and that it's going to inspire our customers. We're trying to build a customer fan base, and no one's going to know that more than you. So it's not to say you shouldn't work with an intern, but not to expect them to take the lead on a strategic approach towards your social media marketing, or giving them the direct ownership over that. So yeah, those are my 4 myths that I wanted to debunk. And Unsah, do you want to go through your ones as well?
Yeah, sure. So the first one is I need to post multiple times a day. This isn't true for everyone, and to be honest, it's only true for you when you've really hit the nail on the head for your audience. For 99% of people, you need to post what's consistent to you and what you can manage with your workload. So for one person, that might be posting once every 3 days. For another person, it might be posting once a day. For another, like me, it can be up to 2 times a day. But I think with so many social media experts saying you need to post consistently, people assume that means every single day or every 6 hours, or, you know, making sure you're getting those posts 2 times a day. Absolutely not. Find what works for your audience, find what works for you as well, and then marry those together, and then set up a posting schedule. If it's once a week, fine, start with once a week, but go strong with that once a week. You know, you're better off having 1 strong post once a week instead of 2 strong posts, but then 15 super weak posts, which no one cares about, and it just gets, you know, your stronger posts get drowned amongst it. The next one is you need to understand Instagram's algorithm to succeed. If I had a penny for how many times people ask me what the Instagram algorithm is just because they want to grow in social media, I'd probably be a millionaire, and I probably won't be writing an ebook. But okay, so Instagram isn't Facebook. So Facebook, you do need to understand the algorithm. They change it a lot, and when they change it, the reach of your post has changed drastically. As you mentioned before, right now, the organic reach from Facebook is less than 3%, and that is terrible, but that's because Facebook prefer you to spend money. So when I worked for Elle Magazine and The Guardian, even E! Entertainment actually, Facebook was huge for organic growth, so that's where we spent 90% of our efforts in. 10% went on Instagram. How things have changed since then is dramatically, but Instagram's focus isn't the algorithm. Instagram's focus is strong content, full stop, right? If you have strong content, and if you have an audience who's responding to that content, you will perform no matter what the algorithm is, right? Is that going to change in 2 years' time, like Facebook dramatically change the algorithms? Maybe, but right now, stop worrying what people are saying about the algorithm. Stop trying to search on Google for what you need to do, and just focus on your audience and your content. The next is that Pinterest isn't useful. So a lot of people sleep on Pinterest, but ironically, all the people that do sleep on Pinterest are the people that should be using Pinterest. So that's anyone who works in the creative industry, whether you're an interior designer, fashion designer, stylist, whether you provide a service like nails, eyelashes, hair, whether you're a skincare influencer, beauty influencer, fashion influencer, Pinterest is huge for you because Pinterest actually mimics how a search engine like Google mimics. So you put in a keyword and based on that keyword, all the content appears. So think of Pinterest similar to how you think of Google. If people are searching for it, it means they're willing to be inspired by you or are looking to invest into something amongst the areas which you cover within your niche. So if I'm interested in interior design, I will go onto Pinterest and I will find loads of ideas, put it onto my mood board, but within those ideas are all the brands which have uploaded their own content, and then it links me through to their website. So Pinterest is a huge platform to drive organic traffic, and I think if you work within the creative industry, use your time to work on Pinterest. It's actually quite a peaceful platform to work on because you're not really competing against other people as such. You're just kind of pinning to mood boards, which is actually quite a fun thing to do. So yeah, and then my next myth is there's no space for TikTok for my brand. Right, I disagree completely. Even if you are a lawyer, there will be space for your brand on TikTok. It's just how you decide to approach that content. So you have to think of your demographic. So they say the average user of TikTok is like 13 to 20. I disagree because I'm on TikTok. My mom's on TikTok. My dad's on TikTok, right? My dad's using TikTok to look at funny Bollywood clips. My mom uses TikTok to look at these Indian dramas that she watches. I use TikTok to look at food recipes. My sister uses TikTok to look at beauty kind of tutorials. And my little brother looks at TikTok to look at football tips, right? So there is a massive range of people using TikTok. So find how your brand will fit within that. So take an example as a lawyer. If you're a lawyer, teach maybe a younger audience what they need to do to gain the skills to be a lawyer. Teach them the basic skills like what is defamation, what is copyright law. So there is space for your brand on TikTok and don't ignore it. I know every social media pro is saying it, and I am no exception to that. It's just such a massive platform, and you don't have the time or space to ignore it. And what's unfortunate is that the people that do kind of move their efforts to TikTok now will see the results in the long run, just like when YouTube first launched and all kind of the YouTube bloggers, like your people's favorites like Zoella, came onto YouTube and now they've got millions of followers and they're making great money. And people look at them now and say, I don't understand how this person has millions and millions of subscribers. Well, that's because they were there before anyone else. So people didn't have anyone else to subscribe to. So that's the same thing for TikTok. That was the same for LinkedIn. That was the same for massive Facebook pages. That was the same for Instagram. All your macro influencers were there way before you were there. So just imagine what potential you could find on TikTok if you migrated now. You know, everyone's telling you to go on TikTok. So if you don't go on it now, you can ask yourself in 2 years' time, why did I not transition to TikTok?
Amazing, that's such good advice. And yeah, have you finished? Sorry.
Yep, done.
No, that was so good, Ben. Yeah, TikTok is really interesting, and I definitely agree. I feel like it's a really good time to get onto the TikTok platform, and it's actually one that you can actually generate a lot of views from, because it's a lot more open right now, and like you said, Unsah, I think it's a really good time to get on there early, and you can start to build like a really good following, and then you can be one of the leaders later on down the line. So it's always a good idea to jump onto platforms early on, and Unsah mentioned like different ways that you can use TikTok. So don't think that it has to be those what they call the miming videos or a dance challenge. There's so many other ways that you can use it. And I thought what you said on Pinterest was really interesting, and I wanted to talk about a little bit about the poll results as well. But I feel like a lot of people really do sleep on Pinterest, and you might have some more stats on this, but I believe on Instagram, it's a lot harder to get people to click off of platform and to click onto links and to get them onto your store or to click onto buy products. But Pinterest, like you mentioned, is more built like a visual Google kind of search engine. And a lot of businesses have a lot of success by creating those visuals and the click-through links, and you can drive actually a lot of traffic to whatever it is that you're looking to do, whether it's to buy a product or to your website. You can drive a lot of traffic to your Pinterest page and from your Pinterest page by creating content. And I use Pinterest, and I've started to use it with my Women in Control platform, and I've seen like a huge amount of click-throughs from my content. And like you said, it's a really fun platform to use. It's really creative, making mood boards. So if you're more of a creative type, that could be good for you. But the reason I want to talk about the polls is because I have done a social media content webinar before, and Pinterest always comes up as like a platform that people really dislike for some reason. So yeah, just to share the results with you guys for the social media, for the platform that you use the most, 98% said Instagram, and 22% said YouTube. Twitter was next. Pinterest came in at 11%, and LinkedIn was the lowest used platform. What platform do you dislike using? The biggest one was 42% of LinkedIn, and 36% for Pinterest, and then 33% for Twitter. So obviously that could be dependent on, you know, who is on the session with us. Like if it's more influencer based, then, you know, maybe LinkedIn isn't the right platform for you. And a lot of creatives also say that they don't like Twitter. And are you finding you're spending more time on social media in lockdown? 93% said yes, definitely more time on lockdown. So I think a lot of the things that we've talked about, you know, controlling your time and spending your time on social media effectively, and perhaps even using this time in lockdown to zone in and hone in on what platforms you love using and what platforms are really effective for you and your brand. Yeah, I wanted to go on to now like talking about what makes a successful strategy. So yeah, could you answer that for us? I know it's a really wide question, but
it is. I will answer as quickly and as detailed as I can. So obviously it will all be in my ebook when it does launch, but I'm going to go through kind of the top line information right now for you all. So tips to making a successful content, and this will apply for a campaign as well. Number one, talk about your area of expertise. Now, your area of expertise and what you are passionate about does not have to be the same thing. I am passionate about beauty, but that's not the area which I am an expert in. I'm an expert in social media. Right? I know a lot about beauty, but I'm probably not a good makeup artist for other people. I can do my own face, I can't do anyone else's. Social media, I can do my own, and I can do everyone else's as well. Pick the area which you're an expert in, pick the area which you don't mind putting a bulk of your time into, and pick the area which you will continue to educate yourself within. So when I say expert, obviously it takes time to reach a certain level of expert. You know, I'm not telling everyone you have to be 7-8 years in your career to suddenly start a brand or to suddenly be an influencer, but it needs to be an area which, you know, you have some skills in, and an area which you are looking to expand, and an area which you're never going to be scared to expand as well. I think a lot of the time, especially when you get to my level in the industry, even below my level, once people are 3-4 years in, they kind of stop learning. And that's the biggest way to start failing, when you stop learning, because things always evolve, especially in the world of social media. Nothing is ever going to be the same. What you did last year isn't going to happen this year. Sometimes what you did yesterday has to change what you do today. So make sure you really find in an area you can expand a good skill set in. The next is to be obsessive and consistent in your content. Now, by obsessive, again, I'm touching on the point of education. It's to know all areas within your kind of bigger topic. So my bigger topic is social media, but I was obsessed and consistent in learning lots of different areas of social media. So how it works for a broadcaster, how it works for a publisher, how it works for an entertainment brand, for a reality TV show, for a fashion magazine, for a beauty influencer, for a beauty brand. And now I'm working on kind of soap shows and more kind of UK-based reality TV shows. So you need to kind of be obsessed in what you're doing in all areas. Don't just touch upon one tiny bit. And again, just honing in on that consistency factor. Find what's consistent for you. again, by no means am I saying be consistent in doing this 24 hours a day. Find your level of consistency. That might be 3 hours a day, it might be 2 hours a day, it might be 20 minutes a day, but work on that and then grow on that. The next is to increase your factor of relatability. So people need to relate to your content for them to enjoy it. If they can't relate to it, whether you are inspiring them, whether you're teaching them, whether you're entertaining them, whether you're humoring them, whether you're kind of debunking myths to them, whatever it is, they need to be able to relate to it in a certain way. The more they relate to your content, the more they will share your content, and that is content which will self-syndicate. And to self-syndicate means that it naturally is shared amongst lots of different platforms. A lot of publishers syndicate content. So, for example, you might see an article on BBC News, and you might go to Yahoo and you see the exact same article. That is because they've syndicated it to their audiences. So when your followers share the content, they know it's going to be beneficial to their audience as well, and that's why they do it. So the more relatable you are, the more people are likely to share your content. And that just is a snowball effect of likes and followers. The next is to find your tone of voice and stick to it. Tone of voice is massive within branding. My ebook is going to talk about this in extensive detail. For me, tone of voice is way more important than looking at the aesthetics of your feed. People have so much attention on, oh, all my pictures need a white background, and oh, all my pictures need to be a kind of tone or have a kind of filter to it. Forget about that for now. That should be the last thing on your list. Tone of voice is bringing the human element to your brand, right? So it's how you speak to people. When people follow Slash, I'm quite blunt, I'm quite straight to the point. I saw you smile there. I think a lot of people are like, Unsah, you're triggering me in your post, stop it. But at the same time, I'm open and I'm inviting you. That's my tone of voice. Whereas another brand's tone of voice might be to, be a bit more polite in their approach. One brand's tone of voice might be to be humorous. Another brand's tone of voice might be, sorry, I'm just seeing the comments and saying you shout a lot at us. I'm sorry, but it's good, you learn. Yeah, so tone of voice brings a human element to your brand. So decide whether you're going to be humorous or whether you're going to be to the point. Decide whether you're going to speak to millennials or whether you're speaking to an older audience. If you're going to speak to millennials, are you going to use emojis? Are you going to use exclamation marks, question marks? You use short and snappy sentences. If you go, for example, to Misguided's feed, their tone of voice is catering to a completely different audience. For example, if you go to the Guardian's feed and their tone of voice is a different audience, find that tone of voice and stick to it, because the more people are familiar with their tone of voice, the more they're going to put a personality to your brand, and that's how we're going to attract the right people to your brand, right? We want to attract the right people. We don't want to attract everyone. The next is stop being afraid what people think. I think a lot of the time when people create content, they think, oh, my friends are going to think I'm weird for this. Oh, my family aren't going to support me. Oh, the people I work with aren't going to love it. Create the content, put it out. Who cares what people think? As long as your audience do, that's all that matters. But they're the only people that matter.
I wanted to ask you, can you give advice for anyone that's looking to start their own brand? I feel like you touched on it before, and when you're starting something from scratch, I feel like the thing that you said, it started naturally and you gravitated towards it because it was your area of expertise, but you started to get a lot of traction on it, and then you built it up and created a separate page for it. So I feel like from my experiences, authenticity, credibility, and passion, that's the key ingredients that you need, I guess, when you're starting any platform that you're hoping to have a success with. And a lot of social media strategy campaigns that I've had a lot of success with have been from me following on from what's gone viral or what has had the best reach, and going, okay, I'm listening to my audience, I'm listening to my artist fans and understanding what they like, and let's give them more of that. Let's make that a thing. If they're engaging and reacting to this, like I've had top 20 hit chart singles that have come off the back of a social media dance that's been created by one of my artists, and us being able to engage that and turn that into a marketing tool to drive us into releasing singles. So yeah, what advice would you give for anyone looking to start their own brand?
Right, this is the number one advice. So I suggest and I can see everyone's sharing their Instagram handles in the chat section, which is great, but I hope you'll listen to this one advice. I feel like you should take this away the most. That is to understand your audience more than your audience understands yourself, right? So know what their pain point is, know what they are going to react to before they react to it, know what they're going to need before they need it. Know what they want before they want it, know what questions they're going to ask before they ask it, right? You need to understand them inside out. As long as you understand your audience inside out, everything is going to follow through after that, because when you know who you're speaking to, you're going to know what content you create. When you know what content you create, that's going to do well for your audience. When that does well for your audience, they're going to continue sharing the content, and that's how you have the snowball effect. So one of the reasons why Slashed has grown so well, and to the extent that it has, is because I speak to a very specific audience, and because I know them, I know what content to produce for them. So that's why things aren't as hard for me. I think when people try to be the best of every world, so they try to be, you know, a graphic designer plus an email marketing pro plus a social media pro, you're speaking to too many people, and you're not hitting as many people's problems, and you want to find the problems your audience have, and you want to answer them, you know, and go deep into the level of detail in how far you go in understanding them. You know, what books do they read? What publications do they read? What music do they listen to? How do they text their friends? You know, do they use internet slang? Do they use Twitter? Are they opinionated? You know, do they like a non-bullshit approach? I'm sure for a massive percent of people who think I'm too honest and too open, kind of in your face, my brand isn't for them, and that's fine, because that's who I am, and I'm going to attract the people for me. You know, I'm not bothered about people who aren't interested in my audience. I'm only bothered about the people who are interested in me, and that's what you all need to do as well. Forget trying to appeal to the mass, because that mass is going to come. You know, I didn't sit down and think, for example, yesterday or the day before, I was 500 followers away from 10,000 followers. I didn't say to myself, what can I do quickly to get the next 500 followers? You know, I could have easily done a giveaway. You know, I could have said, if I get 500 followers in the next 24 hours, I'll give away my first 20 ebooks for free. Absolutely not. What I thought is, what am I going to do to have the next, what am I going to do? What strong content am I going to make to impress my current audience? You know, what am I going to do for my current 9,500 followers? And then those next 500 will come naturally off the back of me creating what I want for my audience. And a lot of social media pros kind of talk about how important it is to know your audience, but I don't think people understand the extent of how important it is to know. And I don't think even people who are experts and explain this kind of point go into the great extent which of the relevance it has. So understand them before anything else, and everything will be off the back of that. You know, you're not going to grow 1 million followers by having a pretty Instagram feed. You're going to grow 1 million followers from having content which people enjoy. My feed when I first started looked like crap. It still kind of does look like crap, and I'm going to get a graphic designer, but then that's not my focus. My focus is just building my following and really creating quality content for my current audience. Do that and you will nail everything else.
Incredible. No, I don't think your page looks crap. I think your page it's got a feel to it, it's got an identity to it, and it feels real and genuine. And I feel like that's why your advice resonates with so many people, because your content is like echoing your advice, which is just real, no bullshit, straight to the point. And you know what you're getting is like real gems there that, you know, you've obviously worked in the industry and actually carried this out for so many years, so it comes with that expertise. Just want to ask one more question before we go to the Q&A, because there's quite a few questions that have come in. And I know it's something that you've also touched on your page. So again, I would really highly recommend, you know, if you want to continue on and find out more about social media strategy, definitely go to the @Slashed.It page. And I will make sure when I send out this webinar that I'll send Unsah's page link as well, that you can go on there, because as I said, she's writing the ebook, and through the process of writing the ebook, she's actually talking about so many different things on there, and so many different points as she's going through all the different chapters. So this question, I know you touched on your Instagram page, because I've seen this, but how many followers do you need to make money off of social media?
This is completely dependent on how invested your current followers are. So if you were the person who I said you should be in the question we just answered before, in that you know your audience inside out and you have that invested audience, you can make followers from 50, you know, you can make money from 50 followers. You know, if all 50 followers buy your product, which is £10 each, you've made a decent amount of money from just those 50 followers. On the other hand, if you have 20,000 followers and 15,000 of those are fake, 3,000 of those are from giveaways, 2,000 of those are for any reasons which are not authentic, you're going to struggle to make money. So the followers that you make money from is your invested audience. So it doesn't matter if you're new, it doesn't matter how big you are, focus on that audience. And as soon as you have 50 to 100 of those invested people, I think you're ready to introduce your product. You know, you don't, and you know, 50 people buying your product, if they're super invested, that's 50 people giving you reviews for your product. Have those 50 reviews, put it on your highlight, feature it on your YouTube channel, pin it on your Twitter, feature it on LinkedIn. You know, all of these social platforms have places where you can kind of feature or pin your key content. 50 of those reviews are going to generate 50 more sales, and that's the snowball effect of it. And I think that's what people need to look at, not the following number. So right now I've got 10,000 followers on Slashed.It. I need as many of those followers who are invested in me to buy my ebook. And I think I have a good base because I've always started from kind of the same area. Whereas I know that there are brands who worked with the biggest reality TV stars you can mention. I'm not going to mention any names because I don't have money to be sued, but those celebrities just don't sell the product because their audience don't care about the product. You know, there's no point. You see all these kind of accounts, they kind of promote traders like Forex traders and like all those kind of dodgy accounts. Well, I think they're dodgy anyway. But it doesn't do anything for the traders because you're promoting on pages where people just don't care about this stuff. They're not on that page for that stuff. So you need to, you know, and I guess I kind of worked into influencers working with brands and brands working with influencers. You need that merge in interest, and when that interest is there, the money will come. There's never been an easier time to get money from social media, but because we're all so attracted to instant gratification in having that big rounded number, having those millions of followers, you forget that making money doesn't correlate to how many followers you have whatsoever. You know, I know people personally who've had 5,000 followers and they're making millions across social media. And you know what, yes, they might have put a tiny bit of advertising spend into Facebook, but I guarantee you there are people, million followers, who put the same amount of money into fake followers than they have in advertising spend, you know. So it's just being a bit smart and understanding that if you walk into a store and you have 50 people interested in, you know, in Topshop, and 50 people are interested in a top, those 50 people are going to buy it. The 50 people that are the dads outside waiting while the daughter and the mum are shopping indoors, they don't care, even though they're viewing your product from distance, you know. So it's just finding that interest and finding that audience, and you will make money. So stop thinking you need a certain number of followers to make money, because I have seen people with amazing, like, huge numbers on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn and so on, struggling to make 20 sales, and it's sad to watch.
100%. I feel like that's such a good point to round up the session with, and that's something that everybody should take away, is definitely to research and understand who you want your audience to be. I feel like you gave such good advice there of like really understanding and niching down and understanding who you're trying to target and where you're trying to go with it, and work on building engaged audiences and engaged fans and engaged followers. And those are the ones that are going to be along with you, invested in your journey, and those are going to be the ones that are ultimately going to spend money or click through to your links or buy your ebook or buy your products and whatever it is. And I do feel like now, especially in lockdown, is a good time to take a stock check of all your social media accounts, and, you know, maybe implement some of the tips that we've spoken about here today, honing in on like 2 to 3 accounts that you want to really work on, and find out which one works for you, that is building like the most effective audience for you, and really focus in on building that. up. So we have nearly run out of time and we've got a lot of questions coming, so I want to try and whiz through as many as we can. So I've got one for you here that just is from an anonymous attendee. They said, is it worth putting your Instagram on private for a while to build followers? So if people want to view your content, they have to follow. What do you think about that, Unsah?
I think this only works for meme pages, and maybe pages that do like lip fillers and things like that. Pages where people just have either a huge curiosity for, so you know, like those before and after plastic surgery pictures. You know, even if you don't care about plastic surgery, you just, you know, we all like looking at those pictures, you know. And then meme pages, because if you share that with your friends and it's on private, it's just a hassle. So you just better off following the page. You know, just follow I'm Just Bait, because it keeps putting a profile on private, and understand and enjoy all those memes as you have it. But apart from that, I don't see a great benefit in putting your account on private. Your account needs to be of super high value for you to think that people are going to care to the extent of waiting for your account to not be on private. So think about the high value before you decide to go on private.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I would have said. And then another question from Naomi Michaels says, a question about a slightly different social media app, LinkedIn. As much as I want to improve my personal brand content on Instagram, I also do not want to neglect my professional brand. What tips would you say I can carry over to LinkedIn?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is, I mean, it's great that you are deciding to put your attention onto LinkedIn. LinkedIn to me is how Facebook used to be, in that the organic traffic and reach is insane. And I don't think it'll always be like that. I do think LinkedIn are going to start introducing a lot more of their paid spend for a lot of brands. So if you can find a way to work your LinkedIn content, do go on it. Engage in conversations with people in your niche area, become friends with lots of people, join groups. Yeah, just really, you need to focus on that organic reach, and all of that is about engagement. And the more you speak to others, the more you're going to appear on the newsfeed. So for example, if I wrote a comment on Nadia's post, it's going to come up on people who follow me's newsfeed, and it's going to say Unsah commented on Nadia's post, and it's going to show Nadia's post. So that's what LinkedIn is about, core and organic engagement. It's definitely kind of the long run, I would say. Don't, again, just like every other platform, don't think you need like thousands and thousands of followers on LinkedIn. I built mine over the space of 8 years. You know, I've been on, I think when I was in, before uni, I think when I was in sixth form, that's when I made my LinkedIn account. And then you just keep growing off the back of that. Obviously, adjust your tone of voice a tiny bit. You're speaking to professionals here. You don't need to add loads of emojis and loads of exclamation marks. On the other hand, you don't have to be super strict and professional. Gone are the days where you're not allowed to post a meme on LinkedIn. You know, if it's a meme and it's got to do with the industry and niche, then go ahead and post it. But yeah, so, you know, if you're a beauty influencer, for example, maybe you'd like to post work of your clients. Maybe you'd like to share insights on what it's like to be a beauty influencer. Maybe share what it's like to work for brands, instead of posting your beauty tutorials. So there are ways. It's just adjusting your tone of voice and increasing that content. And the most important thing is to engage with other people on LinkedIn.
A lot of people in the chat were talking about, you know, scheduling tools. Do you use a scheduling tool? And scheduling tool would you suggest?
I don't use one personally for my account, but for brands I work on, we have a number of scheduling tools. My favorite one right now for smaller brands, I'm not going to obviously advise ones which cost thousands and thousands of pounds, is Iconosquare. Icon, ICONO, and then Square. You have to pay a small tiny fee per month, but I find the picture quality doesn't necessarily decrease when you schedule the content, which I find a lot of the cheaper platforms do. You can kind of have analytics and insights into your stories, into your reach, and it even gives you a breakdown of your paid spend on social. So I definitely recommend that for now. Other ones people use are Buffer, Later Planner. To be honest, you can just go on the App Store and search a scheduling tool. I don't think it matters what scheduling tool you're using. I don't think you need to look that deep into it. As long as it's posting your content at the time you want it to post, I mean, that's all that matters, right? That's what a scheduling tool is for. So obviously, if you're a brand and you need to look at your competitors and do like huge competitor analysis, then you go into the more advanced softwares. But and if you are a brand owner and you have like £1 million spend, then DM me and I'll recommend some softwares. But I think for the majority of people, just any tool will matter. It doesn't really matter.
Amazing. And a question here from Kirsty Stober, who says, will your book have a template for social media strategy, building the basics and up?
Yes, so I have self-developed 3 rules for social media. So one is called the attention loop, one is called the 6SS rule, and one is a global strategy template. And my aim from these is if you learn and you nail these, you'll be able to apply it to any social platform, whether it's existing now or whether it's one which is going to come in 20 years' time. I will say my ebook is to learn. It's not going to give you a copy and paste answer. If you want a copy and paste answer, there are thousands of other experts who are doing that. I just think people are at a stage now where you need to learn what to do. You don't need to keep buying courses. You don't need to spend thousands of pounds for what I think is rubbish and you can find on Google for free. You need to now learn what to do. And I think, just to answer another question, a lot of people are asking why it's not a physical book and why it's an ebook. Because to be honest, it's a waste of money for me as much as a waste of money for you. Social media changes so much. So I need something which I can change if I need to change it. So a lot of the rules are going to be something you can use globally and across all platforms. But if there is something in there about an algorithm like Facebook, where you do need to understand the algorithm a tiny bit, you do need to understand how paid ads work on Facebook. If I need to change that, I can change that and I can send you the update free of charge instead of printing 1 million books, which is just wasting money for me and paper and so on.
Amazing. And yeah, not to put you under pressure, but Karina has asked, when are you releasing your ebook?
I know, oh my God, okay. So I was just telling Nati the other day that I underestimated how hard it would be to write such an extensive ebook. Okay, so one, I didn't know how extensive it would be. The more I write, the more I need to write. But I guess in the long run, that's not a bad thing for you guys. You're getting as much information as possible. Number 2, I thought because I've been a journalist my entire career, and I've been writing my entire career, I'll be able to write this book super quick. That was a big fat lie I told myself. I'm doing a full-time job. And I've obviously got loads of personal commitments as well. We're in a weird time now anyway with the pandemic, you know, and I've been on medication and so on. And it's just not that easy for me to write the ebook that quickly. Saying that, I am working on it every single day. I'm just like the rest of you guys. I'm not superwoman. Sometimes I wake up and I can write 6 chapters in one day. Another day I wake up, I only have the mental capacity to write 10 minutes in that day, and that's how much I can force myself, and that's fine. You know, it's a learning process, and you'll all be learning with me, and I'm convinced by the time this ebook is out, which should be by July the latest, right? The latest. I'm hoping by June I finished writing it, and then in July I'll have to give it over to a copy editor to obviously look out for typos and things like that, and then it should be done by end of July at the latest, so fingers crossed.
Amazing. It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's coming soon. And also, like I said, on your Instagram page, you're posting so much information as you're going along. So you can go back actually through that and you can get a taste of what's going to be in the ebook. But there's so much information on there already that will keep you busy until the ebook comes out anyway. I know we've run out of time, so I just wanted to maybe take 2 questions. I don't know if you had any that you wanted to pull out from the Q&A panel, but I can pull another one out if you want.
I mean, you can pull 2 out, and I would say if you have any questions, just send me a DM. I'm very open in my DMs. I respond to everyone. It might take me a couple of days, so I get a lot. And then what I might do is put all your questions into an Instagram post and answer them all over there. Or maybe I do a little IGTV video, I don't know. But I will answer any questions which aren't answered over here into a separate Instagram post. So you can pick up 2 questions.
Okay, amazing. Well, one is from an anonymous attendee. How do you conduct really detailed audience research? You want to create an influencer brand on lingerie. Do you start with other profiles?
Yeah, so it's going to be in my ebook, like a really extensive guide, and I don't want to give away every tiny bit of detail, but yes, so look at brands which are competitors, go on Google, go on Pinterest, go on every social platform, look at what other people are buying, look at what other people are interested in, do kind of a keyword search on Twitter. Whoever you are, DM me and I'll teach you how to do a keyword search on Twitter, and we'll go from there. Sorry, that was short and sweet. I know I'm running out of time.
No, that was really good. Yeah, I feel like so a lot of the questions coming in are quite similar, so we're answering quite a few of those as well at the same time. So that's good. One question from Yvonne that stood out was, any tips on how to nail down and understand your audience?
Yeah, so it's okay. So you need to think about your brand and think who you think your ideal audience would be, and then you need to create what is going to be in my ebook. It's called a character or audience persona. So you almost detail out every aspect of that person, and then you need to find that person on social platforms and almost stalk the shit out of them and see how they behave. For example, if my brand was for 18 to 24-year-old females who are interested in fashion, I will source those people on various social platforms, and I will kind of find what is the common denominator between all of them and go off the back of that. You know, it does require a lot of work, and there is quite a bit of work to do in this, which is why I have a whole section in my ebook on just working out who your audience is. So that's the top line information.
Amazing. And sorry, I just want to answer one more from anonymous attendee who said, for me, I'm in a wheelchair, so I find it hard to take photos for Instagram. I seem to do one outfit and post 4-ish photos in that one because I cannot constantly take photos. It takes a lot out of me. So do you have any advice for them in terms of, I think you've shared that as well on your page, in terms of like reusing content?
Yeah, firstly, that's your value. That's not your disadvantage, that you're on a wheelchair and doing your own thing. So that's your unique selling point. So don't take that as something, you know, it's so cool that you're on a wheelchair and you're posting outfits, you know, from your wheelchair, which thousands and millions of other people aren't doing. Secondly, learn how to kind of chop up your content. So, you know, take 4 pieces of content in one outfit, the next day take another 4 in another outfit, and then swap and change those. You know, find ways which you can work with them. And you know what, just be honest with the audience. You know, make it known that you can't do content in the way everyone else does it. Do it in your own way, and then use that as your value to go forward. I think a lot of people need to look at their disadvantage and then make that their advantage, because that's what the value is. You know, who wants to see another fashion influencer who's not doing anything new? So you're doing something that's new, so go ahead and work with that.
Yeah, that's incredible advice. And yeah, no, thank you so much, Unsah, for doing this. I know, guys, we didn't get to answer all your questions, but Unsah said her DMs are open and she'll be happy to take any more. And same to myself as well. I'm happy for you guys to email or reach out on Instagram as well if you want to find out any more information. And I really appreciate Unsah, you giving up the time. I'm really excited for you to be doing your ebook, and I can't commend you enough for the platform that you've built, how you've grown it, and how you've actually created something for yourself off the back of your knowledge and the work that you've done in the industry. So yeah, super inspiring. You've inspired me. You've given me so much knowledge and tools as well that I can go away and take. So it's been a really good conversation.
Thank you so much. Likewise to you. Here's to everyone becoming powerful people. I was going to say powerful females, but I don't say that anymore because I actually have a lot of male followers as well. And I don't want them to think I don't care about them. I care about everyone who follows me. But no, thank you so much for all your comments, for everyone that follows me, for you, Nadia, giving me this platform to talk on. Onwards and upwards for all of us.
Amazing. No, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye.